Hey folks, welcome back to the Dungeon Dive. Daniel here. I hope you're doing well, and if you're not, I hope you are soon. Okay, in today's video, we are taking a look at the new random dungeon generator that I have created. And this is available on itch.io for a few bucks, so it's a great way to support the channel and get a little something in return. On itch.io, I have also, of course, released my 3D6 Oracle with the Bag of Fate, a little kind of bag building mini game that you can use to also kind of support your solo RPGs. I'm not sure if we'll use this today, but I do have it handy just in case. And this is also available on itch.io. But I just published this random dungeon generator. Now, Dungeon Dive patrons, they will also get a free copy. They got a free copy of the Oracle and also a free copy of the random dungeon generator. So this is a really simple dungeon generator that I created, and I think it's pretty cool. I like it. It's useful, and it's also, I made it so it's pretty much system agnostic, and you should be able to use this with any kind of fantasy RPG that you're playing to roll up random dungeons while you're playing, or if you're a dungeon master or a game master, you can maybe use it to design dungeons to run your players through. And I kept it as generic as possible with the opportunity for me to expand it later. And I'm going to be releasing more tables for like more D66 encounters and more dungeon features and that kind of thing. So let's take a little look at the random dungeon generator, and then we'll play a few sample turns and generate a random dungeon as we go. So yeah, this is a simple random dungeon generator that includes tables for generating dungeon flavor, theme, and atmosphere, entrances and exits, rooms, corridors, traps, features, and encounters. And so this sample dungeon that we will create on camera today, I rolled up, is subterranean, and the entrance is through a hole in the ground, so that's going down. And the entrance is always a small room. It is otherworldly. It is mechanically lit. It is in active use. And it's a small dungeon with 5 to 7 rooms. So we'll kind of split the difference and say 6 rooms. Now, the total number of rooms doesn't mean that this dungeon only has 6 rooms. What I mean by that is the 6th room, that will be where our objective is, whatever our objective is. Whether that's, finding some MacGuffin or finding a boss to kill him. I don't know. I don't really have a quest in mind right now. But we need to find something in that 6th room. Of course, there might also be other doors and corridors that you can explore after you have found your objective. I don't think there are enough randomizers in my dungeon generator to create a mega dungeon, but maybe someday there will be as I expand it. And for this little game, I'm using a very, very simplified version of my character creation for Land in Peril. My character's name, of course, Cragor. The 3 core stats are agility, brawn, and concentration. So I have a 2 in agility, a 3 in brawn, and a 1 in concentration. And then I have a determination of 6. So in my game, characters can't die unless you want them to die and you want to narrate that story. Determination just kind of is a stat. It's a currency that keeps track of your character's willingness to go on. When that reaches 0, that adventure is over. And then you kind of narrate what happens, depending on if they have succeeded or failed at their quest. The weapon, I have a short sword, and I assign some keywords to that. So that's fast, small, and piercing. And my armor, I have fire armor of brawn. So that gives me a +1 to my brawn. I randomize that. And that will also give me some protection against fire. That will allow me to overcome things that have to do with fire more easily. So the random dungeon generator here is 4 pages. And the first tables here are to set up your setting and your atmosphere. So we have a setting, we have a crypt, tomb, a tower, subterranean, fortress, submerged, aquatic, and a treetop canopy dungeon. The architecture, is it natural, intelligently designed, ancient technology, mine, otherworldly, or gothic? The lighting source, bioluminescence, torchlit, dark, sunlit, supernaturally lit, mechanically lit. And then a little theme here, long ago abandoned by original inhabitants, still in active use, taken over by nature. Is it haunted? Is it corrupted? Or is it newly established? So I would recommend at least rolling up on your setting, and the other 3 things you can roll up as you need or as you want to. And then we can determine the dungeon entrance and exit. And so you will find your corresponding setting and then roll a d6 on one of these. So we are in subterranean. So a subterranean could be in a mountainside cave, a hole in the ground, or a trap in the door. If you have a submerged aquatic dungeon, it could be on an island, or a magical whirlpool takes you there, or at the bottom of a lake or something like that. Now what I thought would be cool is, you could enter in one entrance, but then maybe it comes out in another place. And one of the things I'm working on now is a random hex crawl generator. And using the entrances and exits, I think you could create some cool topography on a hex crawl map. And then we come to the size of the dungeon. So the dungeon size, the number of rooms, small, medium, or large. So that's 5 to 7 rooms, 8 to 10 rooms, or 11 to 15 rooms. And again, that room total is just where your objective would be. That doesn't mean that the dungeon is only that many rooms. It can be if you wanted to. Room size, so when you enter a room, you will roll up the room size, and the room size is used to determine how many features are in that room. So a small room will have 0 to 1 features, a medium room 1 to 2 features, a large room 1 to 3 features, and then we have a little bit of flavor here for the room shape: square or rectangle, circle or oblong, unique, unusual. And then you can randomize the number of features there, and also how many doors other than the entrance, from 0 to 3 additional doors per room. And I always play that rooms always lead to corridors, and corridors always lead to rooms. And speaking of corridors, we can randomize the size of the corridors from from short to long. And then that also determines how many features are in the corridor from 0 to 2, the shape of the corridor, and then how many doors are in the corridor. So you can generate all of your random corridors. And then here, when you come to doors, you can determine if they're locked. You can also determine if they're trapped. So is the door locked? You roll on that table. Is the chest locked? You roll on that table. And then the difficulty of the lock, or finding a secret door. And I use easy, normal, and hard. Now I know that, whatever game you're playing will have different difficulty checks, different DCs, different target numbers. So I try to keep this as generic as possible. In my game, A Land in Peril, it uses a D6 system where a normal is on a roll of a 5 or a 6, an easy on a 4 to 6, and a hard would be on a 6. So if I was trying to unlock a locked door using my agility of 2, I would roll 2d6, and a normal door, I need a 5 or a 6. And well, it kind of rolled off there, but that would be a 6. I could have unlocked that door. And then we have our chances of traps. So is the door unlocked, trapped, yes or no? Is the door locked, trapped, yes or no? Is the corridor trapped? Is the room trapped? And then here we have a very cool table to kind of generate traps on the fly. So the stat that you need to overcome the trap. So let's say that the door was trapped. What would I need to do to overcome that trap? A 1 is strength. So maybe somebody, jams some boards or something. They strengthen the door to barricade it. And so that would be a trap that you would have to overcome with strength. And so I would need to bash down the door or something like that. You could roll up the type of trap, whether it's environmental or elemental, the difficulty to overcome that trap, and then some trap details. If it's environmental, this table here will tell you if it's in the ceiling, the floor, the walls, maybe one of the features that you find is trapped, some kind of natural trap, like maybe a man-eating plant or something like that, or some kind of supernatural trap. And then elemental would be poison, lightning, ice, magic, fire, and curse. And then here are just some trap ideas that you can use to kind of trigger your own imagination. And then we get into the features tables. And when you find a feature, you will roll on this table. So in a corridor, you will roll on this D6 chart here. In a small room, you will roll on this D6. And then the medium rooms, you can roll a D12 or a D6. And the large rooms, you can roll a D20, a D12, or a D6. So there's quite a few features, and this is one area where I want to release just little one-page expansions for this. And then finally, the last page here is a D66 table for encounters. And there, in a room, there's a 2 in 6 chance. These are the basic rules. You can always modify that. If that happens too frequently, you could drop that down to a 1 in 6 chance, and the corridors is a 1 in 6 chance for an encounter. And the 1s are going to be cultists, 2s monsters, 3s NPCs, 4 supernatural, 5 environmental, and 6 treasure. And one special thing I have on here is a quest item. And so this would mean this is just your basic kind of MacGuffin. I might, maybe later release another expansion that will have a randomizer for a quest item that can actually help you generate quests. Or you might actually roll a 66 on a D66 earlier than your objective room and maybe find your quest item early or something like that. I just thought that was kind of a neat idea. And yeah, so let's play a little bit of dungeon exploration here. So we're going through the hole, and the entrance is always a small room. And I randomized that there were 3 additional doors, and there was also a secret switch that I found. Now, I don't know what that secret switch does. There aren't any tables. You have to use your imagination. Maybe if one of these doors is locked, I found that secret switch so I could flip it and it would unlock that door or something like that, or maybe deactivate the traps in the room. We can say that it might deactivate traps. But let's pick a door to go through and let's see what happens. Let's continue downward here. So I'll go to that door. Now we could just say this door is locked or unlocked. You could just make the choice, or we could randomize it. I have the randomizer here, so let's see. Is this door locked? 3, no, it is not locked. Okay, so is it trapped? The door is unlocked. So is it trapped? On a 1, yes. No, okay, so this door is just wide open, so we can go ahead and go through this door here. Now let's see what this corridor is. The size here of this corridor is 1, so it's a short corridor. Again, the sizes are kind of all relative, so just, sketch relative sizes. You don't have to count squares or anything. So we'll just make a really short corridor. And now let's see the shape of the corridor. It's actually branching, so a really short branching corridor. Okay, so we'll go like this. Okay, so there's our short branching corridor. Let's see how many doors other than the entrance for a short. So this might be a dead end here. 5. Nope, so there's 1 additional door. Okay, so let's go ahead and put the door like this. So maybe these are little alcoves in this short branching corridor there. Okay, so we have a short corridor, has 0 features, so we don't need to come up with any features. And let's see if this corridor is trapped. Is the corridor trapped? On a 1 to 2, yes. A 6, no. Okay, so no traps. We have 1 door. Let's see if this door is locked. On a 2, is the door locked? No. Okay, is the door trapped? 6, no, the door is not trapped, so we can continue on through here. And now this will be a room as we go through here. So let's see the size of the room here. So the room will be, okay, 6. So we have a large room, and the large room will have 1 to 3 features. Let's see the shape of this room is 5. It's unique or unusual. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of draw in a weird shaped room here. And this is a large room. Okay, so there we have our large room. And let's see how many features are in this large room. So it has 1 to 3 features. 3, so we have 2 features. So let's go to our feature sheet here. So we have our large room features. And let's roll up a D20 to see one of the features in here. 4. It's a livestock or garden room. Okay, so maybe I was saying that since this is an otherworldly, mechanically lit, subterranean, I was wondering maybe when I was creating this dungeon, if it was some kind of crashed alien ship or something, maybe some kind of ancient aliens. So maybe this was their room where they were growing produce, and they were using this to feed themselves as they were traveling in space. So this is some kind of produce room. Maybe there are these hanging gardens in here. That's kind of cool. All right, so let's see, a D12 for our second feature. 15, that's not a D12, that's a D20. D12 for our second feature. A 5, strange writing on the walls. So the walls up here, maybe they have some signs, and maybe the signs are telling about the different organic things that they are growing and giving people instructions on how to take care of them or something like that. Okay, let's see how many additional doors there are in this large room. 4. So there are 1 to 2 doors. I like the doors down here. Each one of these doors will lead kind of to a different corridor. Now let's see if we have some kind of encounter in this room. So there is a 2 and 6 chance to have an encounter, and a 3, no. So let's say that we had rolled a 1 or a 2, and then we could roll our D66 to see what kind of encounter we have in this room. A 1 and a 5, so a conflict between captives and cultists. So maybe these are some kind of like space monks or something that have been traveling, and somebody had a prisoner, and the prisoner has escaped, and maybe they're trying to work their way to the entrance so they can escape from this crashed ship. And so we witness that. And let's go to the oracle here, and let's see if any of the combatants, if any of the people involved in the conflict, let's see if they see us. A 6, yes, and okay, let me roll for a twist. No twist. Okay, so yes, they see us, and maybe we surprise them, and the captive says something in a strange language, and we don't understand what they're saying, but we understand the tone of what they're saying, and we hear them pleading for help because they are trying to run from these weird kind of alien-like space monks or something whose ship has crashed. So maybe now we would get into combat. I'm not going to go through combat too much or generate monsters or anything like that, but simply I would use my main stat, and that is brawn. My brawn is a 3+1, so I actually have 4d6, and I could say that this was a normal combat challenge, so I'm looking for 1, 5, or 6, a single 5 or 6 to overcome this combat challenge, and we have 2 successes. So we wrestle with these monks, we slay them with our sword or whatever, and we help the prisoner escape. Now maybe this prisoner now is an NPC, maybe they know some information about this dungeon, maybe they know, hey, if you head down here, you'll find such and such. So again, this is all just useful information for you to come up with neat things on the fly. So, okay, well, we're not going to go too deep into the solo role-playing part. I just want to kind of show you how to create a dungeon. So let's check this door here. Let's see if this door here is locked. Door locked. 1. No, the door is not locked. Is this door trapped? No, it is not trapped. Okay, so let's take a look at this corridor here. Let's go through this exit. And that is a long corridor, and the shape is straight. Okay, so this is going like this. So let's say this is a long corridor. Okay, how many doors long? We have 5. We have 3 doors. Okay, so there'll be a door at the end here. So 1, and then maybe 2 leading off into that direction. Now this is a long corridor, so it does have 2 features. So let's go to our feature table here and look at the corridors. We'll roll twice on this table here. A 1, a trail of blood leads to a room, and a trail of blood leads to a room. If you roll the same, you ignore. So even though we had the chance of finding 2 features, we actually only had 1. And so there's some blood, and let's say the blood is leading to this door. That could be the blood from the captive. And so, you know, they escaped, and maybe they got into a little tussle in this corridor, and they got injured, and they started bleeding. And so maybe through this room here or this door here, that could possibly be the jail that the captive was being held in, or something like that. Okay, so am I curious about that blood? Maybe, but I think I want to explore this side room here. Maybe I can find something interesting there. So I'm going to say that that door is not locked. You know, the doors don't really seem to be locked in this place, so you can continue with that theme if you want. But let's see what kind of room is off to this side here. So room size 1. So this is a small room. So I'll just draw kind of a small room here. Okay. Shape, I'm just going to say that's square because I like the way that that looks. Is there any features in this small room? A 4. No, there are not. How many other doors in here? A 4. We have 2 more doors other than the entrance. So I'll put a door there and a door there. Do we have an encounter in this small room? A 2. Yes, we do have an encounter. Okay, so let's see what kind of encounter we have. I'm going to roll something different, not a 1. A 3 and a 6. An NPC searching for a quest item. Okay, so I'm going to say that this actually was kind of a holding cell here. So there's a holding cell, and there was 2 holding cells, and this one was open. And so this is where the prisoner escaped from. And inside this holding cell here is another NPC. And this NPC is asking to be released. And this NPC actually speaks our language. So maybe this is some kind of slaving cultist ship that travels around these weird dimensions, picking up captives and doing some kind of intergalactic slave trade. And so he's asking to be set free, but we need to find some kind of quest item. So maybe our quest item now would be a key to unlock this NPC. And so in our 6th room, we are 1, 2, 3, in 3 more rooms, we could find that key because we designated that the objective would be 6 rooms. And then we can take that key back, we can rescue that NPC, then we can escape, and then that could lead to other adventures, that could lead to other quests. Maybe this NPC knows something about these beings, and they can give us information. And so I tried to make this in a way that you could generate story on the fly, just using these very simple prompts and using your imagination. You know, I always tell people the #1 thing you can do to help your solo role-playing is to read a lot of fiction, so you're able to come up with ideas. You're able to connect the dots easily because you have that kind of, you know, fiction background to work upon. But so far, I have enjoyed using my random dungeon generator, and I can't wait to combine it with my random hex crawl generator as soon as that's done. I just started working on that, and so that'll probably be, you know, maybe like 2 months until I get that finished. Yeah, I think we'll call it there. Just a real brief video today. I just kind of wanted to sponsor my own video. So if you want to support the channel, of course, you can on Patreon. You'll get this for free. It's in the files section on the Dungeon Dive Patreon, or you can just head over to itch.io, and I set the price at $3. And it's just another way to support the channel and get something in return. Let me know if you use it, if you enjoy it, if you have any suggestions maybe for some expansions. I will be releasing more pages of features, you know, themed features, and more pages of D66 encounters that might be themed to different ones, different themes and different settings and types of creatures. You know, this one here is kind of focused on cult activity because this whole column here is on cultists. I always like cultists in games, but you know, this could be some kind of nobility or maybe bandits or things like that. But it should be easy to expand, and you know, eventually maybe one day there will be enough random things here to create your own mega dungeons. I'm not a huge fan of mega dungeons. I like smaller, more contained adventures that I can kind of play in a single session that will continue to kind of steamroll and snowball into other quests and other adventures that I can continue to go on. So I hope you enjoyed this video on the Dungeon Dive Random Dungeon Generator. We will talk to you later. Bye-bye.